I'd love to have you. I mean, I'm just saying, we're not limiting it to two.
I can do it.
Lose it.
Good morning.
Hey.
So quiet. What's going on? Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of the Board of Governors to order. I'd like to remind everyone to silence your phones. It's been a very busy but fun week for all of the members of the Board of Governors, and I think for everyone else who has been with us to celebrate the inauguration of President Spellings. I've had a number of good days in my life, and yesterday was one of the best.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful event for Margaret, and I thought it was a wonderful event for the University of North Carolina and for the state of North Carolina. So I want to thank everybody who participated. I want to particularly thank the staff who helped put that event together. One person came up to me and said, you know, I never thought I never thought I would pay to go to an inauguration, but he said, I would have paid to go to that one. So
Good, it can.
I got his name. So it was a great day, Margaret. It was great having your family in Chapel Hill and your Texas friends, most of whom were orderly. I did have, we did have a few reports that the sorority house across the street last night was upset because of the noise, and the police did not arrest the president. And there was a report that there was a young woman there dancing for most of the night, who's sitting over here at the end of the table. Do you remember that, Ann?
I was not alone. May I remind you.
So a good time was had by all, and thanks to everybody. I would like to recognize a couple of people who are here with us today. Representative Fraley, who was with us throughout the day yesterday, and John, we really appreciate your interest in the university system and in our board, and thank you for your help and support. And Representative Ted Davis is with us as well. Ted, thank you for being here too. One other person, Ed Broadwell, the chair of the board at Western Carolina and a former Board of Governors member. So we're always happy to have you here, Ed. Thank you. Pat Smith is here, former chair of the board at the chair of the board at UNC Asheville. Thank you, Pat, for being here as well. And I noticed UNC Asheville brought a bus load of people down here for the inauguration yesterday. They sent me a picture. It was a pretty motley group of mountain people. So I'm not going to put it up on the screen. I would like to, before we get started, it's been a very, although we've had a great couple of days here, it has not been such a great couple of days for the people in eastern North Carolina. It's difficult down there and still difficult. So I'd like to open the meeting with a brief moment of silence for all of those who've been affected by Hurricane Matthew. Thank you very much. Our invocation today will be given by David Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we bow our heads. Heavenly Creator, we come to you to ask for your grace and guidance for the thousands of our fellow North Carolinians who are suffering from the effects of the recent storms and flooding. We ask that you give them the strength to rebuild their communities and their lives. Lord, we ask for your blessing on those assembled here today and on the University of North Carolina that we all love so much. Give us wisdom as we seek the best path forward for the university, our students, faculty, and staff, and the citizens of our beloved Old North State, whom we are called to serve. Help us to remember that our university is not only an institution of scholarship and learning, it is also a great marketplace of ideas where free expression hopefully leads to better understanding. Lastly, Lord, we ask your watchfulness over those who keep our freedom strong, the men and women who sacrifice their own safety so that we may be safe and free. God bless their service. God bless the University of North Carolina, and God bless our great state and nation. Amen.
Thank you, David. The State Ethics Act took effect on January 1, 2007, and all of the voting members of the Board of Governors are covered by the Act. Under the Act, you have a duty to avoid conflicts of interest and appearances of conflicts. Looking at the agenda for today's meeting, does anyone know that you have a conflict of interest or an interest that would give rise to the appearance of a conflict of interest?
I do, Mr. Chair. Item 6D, I did not vote in.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Vice Chair. Yes.
Item 6D, I did not vote in committee and will not be voting.
Steve?
Chairman, items 6A and 6B, I will not vote.
Sorry, slipped ahead of the roll call here. Secretary Perry, would you call the roll?
Chairman Bissett.
Here.
Vice Chairman Aiken.
Here.
Ms. Burris Floyd. Mr. Byers. Here. Mr. Davenport.
Here.
Ms. Finnegan.
Here.
Ms. Gage.
Here.
Mr. Goolsby.
Here.
Mr. Granger. Here. Mr. Hinton.
Here.
Mr. Holmes. Here. Mr. Knott.
Here.
Mr. Codis. Mr. Codis. Mr. Lampy.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mrs. McNeil.
Here.
Ms. Maxwell. Mr. Alex Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Champ Mitchell. Mr. Champ Mitchell. Mrs. Nelson. Mr. Parrish.
Here.
Mr. Pickett.
Here.
Mr. Powers.
Here.
Mr. Rippey. Mr. Sloan.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Souza.
Here.
Mr. Sawasink. Mr. Sawasink. Mr. Webb. Mrs. Wiley.
Here.
Mr. Williford. Mr. Williford. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Secretary Perry. As we begin the business portion of the meeting, I would like to remind everyone of the board's expectations for conduct at our meetings. We ask that attending today that you remain respectful of fellow attendees and the board. Those attending an official meeting may not engage in conduct that interferes with the rights of others to observe and listen to the proceedings. Any individual who disrupts the meeting will be asked to leave and may be subject to arrest. I would now entertain a motion to to approve the minutes of the open session of the meeting of Friday, July 29th. Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. The minutes are approved. We'll now move to the president's report.
As you all know, I have said way too much over the last few days, so just a few brief remarks, starting with a giant thank you for the financial, physical, metaphysical, and spiritual support that you all provided around the great day yesterday for this university, but really, more importantly, every day. And today we are back to work together to serve this institution and to make it the leading institution in our nation and the world. And I know we're up to the task, as I said yesterday. So thank you, a million thank yous. The only substantive thing I want to talk about today is the effects of the hurricane on this university. And as you probably are well aware, 5 of our campuses have been affected in some way, those being Elizabeth City State, ECU, Fayetteville, UNC Pembroke, and UNC Wilmington. And damage assessments are underway. And, you know, this is going to be a long journey, and it will obviously have financial consequences. Our top priority in the immediate term, as you would expect, is the security and safety of our students. Happily, some of those institutions were closed for fall break, and others made modifications so that they could manage through the situation. Greenville and Pembroke suspended operations indefinitely and expect to be back online in the near term. We have set up an account as part of the university's foundation for those who want to give specific contributions to the university and the needs there. So for your information, I want to commend Brent Herron on the general administration staff and all of the folks involved with campus security who are on the job, you know, working on water and plumbing and you name it, transportation and so on. It's a big challenge, and so please be thinking of them. I also want to commend, as you would expect, those who've come to aid and rescue in this instance, and in particular NC Central and NC State, who are providing support and housing students and on and on. And of course, I want to commend the chancellors of the 5 institutions that have been affected for their 24/7 emergency responder attitude about the storm. So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, especially for your leadership and friendship, and it's been a lot of fun working with you. And I'm looking forward to our days ahead.
I am.
Amen.
Thank you, President Spelling. Thank you very much. We will now consider the administrative action items listed as item 6 on today's agenda. Are there any of those items that any of our members would like to have removed for discussion? Yes, Steve.
6O, I have a
Six-
point of clarification.
6O, okay. We'll take that off and talk about that a little in just a minute. Anything else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Thank you, Harry. Do I have a second? Have a second? Frank? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, we'll now discuss item 6O. Mr. Long.
My question on 6O is the change in our policy about delegation of authority to the president for compensation increases that we talked about in the Personnel and Tenure Committee. And my question came out when I saw a news article recently where the ECU Board of Trustees had approved delegation of their approval authority to the chancellor or his designees. And my question was, when we discussed this in the Personnel Tenure Committee, I thought that what we were doing was approving delegation to the president, who could then delegate to the chancellor and the Board of Trustees. I did not realize that the Board of Trustees would then be able to delegate, or the chancellor would be able to delegate to somebody underneath the chancellor. And my question, I understand the efficiency argument, totally, I get that, although I oppose the increased authority. But how far beneath the chancellor does the designation, or in practice, does the delegation go? Because does it go just to the vice chancellors, or does it go to the dean level? How far? Or do you bifurcate based on the amount of increase? I just want to know in practice what it is, because I think it's important for us to know what's happening in practice when we vote on this increased delegation of authority. And I don't know if we know it right now, but.
Mr. Chair, I think Governor Long brings up a good point, and I think we need some clarification. But I think we need, I think he broke it into two categories. One is policy, one is practice. And I think Mr. Brody's prepared to lead us through what our policy is and what our practice has been, and I think that would be helpful if we could call on him at this time.
Okay, Matt.
Well, I didn't want to make it short and sweet.
Tom Shanahan would like to add something before Matt begins.
Very briefly, members of the board, this item that's before you, just to be clear, is actually an amendment to subpart B2 of the President's delegation, which relates to delegation of authority to settle potential litigation and existing litigation. So you're actually, when you vote to approve this, you're not voting on the delegations. I just wanted to clarify that point. I'll turn it over to Matt to address the question.
I'm all asking about is the delegation of authority on compensation.
Right. So with respect to the delegation of authority on compensation, basically salary adjustments, there is a list of individuals that the Board of Trustees, on the recommendation of the Chancellor, the Chancellor can in turn delegate to. It is a relatively short list. It includes the Provost, the Chief Business Officer, the Chief Human Resources Officer, and the Chief Compensation Administrator, all senior officials on the campus. The delegation does not go down to individual vice chancellors, does not go down to individual deans or department heads. On many of our larger campuses, the reality is there are hundreds, even in a year, thousands of increases. So it is not possible or quite honestly effective or efficient for the chancellor to see every one. So there is a small group of officials that, with the approval of the Board of Trustees, the chancellor can delegate to, such as the Chief Human Resources Officer, such as the Provost, and those individuals typically are involved on behalf of the Chancellor routinely in reviewing those actions and often consult with the chancellors as well. So it is a very limited list, Mr. Long. It's not, they can't just open it up to anybody.
Then that answers my question. The second question is, then those decisions are reported up to the Board of Trustees, right, for them to review?
Yes, that's correct. Any salary action that would be acted on by one of the Chancellor's designees has to be reported to the Chancellor, and the Chancellor in turn on a monthly basis must report those actions to the Board of Trustees. And of course, similar to the Committee on Personnel and Tenure, they have the right to request details on any individual action at any time and to modify or amend the delegations in question if they're not satisfied.
Thank you. That answers my question.
And Steve, just one other quick point. As you all delegated that authority, you'll recall that we strengthened the reporting requirements for you all to see virtually all of it. So it's a transparency exchange for efficiency and authority.
Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Webb.
Matt, I understand that the persons to whom this authority is delegated have to report to the Board of Trustees.
Yes.
Is it merely report to, or does the board have a role to play in making those adjustments come into being?
So just to delineate, when it comes to the senior officers at the campus, the vice chancellors, that may not be delegated to the chancellor, nor may the chancellor delegate. Those actions must be acted on and approved directly by the Board of Trustees. The remainder of the actions, it's a choice for the Board of Trustees. They can decide to delegate to their chancellors, and many do, and then it's just information for them, or they can decide to withhold that authority strictly at the board level.
I'm less concerned, and maybe I didn't understand you, I'm less concerned about the delegation to the chancellors.
Right.
That seems appropriate. When you get down to human resources and some of the other names on your list, is their action final, or must the board ratify those actions?
No, the actions are not approved by the board. They're simply reported to the board. Correct.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Long. It's a good discussion. I understand the situation better now myself.
My concern was that we were maintaining an oversight. There was sunlight on the issue, and that it's not readily apparent from the news article as to who was getting that delegated authority. That's why I wanted to ask that question.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to approve item 6O on the consent agenda. Have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll begin our committee reports now, and I would ask Mr. Davenport to report on the Committee on Public Affairs and Audit, Risk Management, and Compliance. And there was some concern this morning that Chairman Davenport was having a coup and wanted to take over a number of other committees as well, but he has denied that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and Board of Governors members, neither the Committee on Audit, Risk Management, and Compliance nor the Committee on Public Affairs had a business meeting this month, but did have a joint strategic planning meeting on Wednesday afternoon. During the strategic planning meeting, the joint committees approved to expand the name of our strategic theme from economic impact to economic impact and community engagement. This was in support of the fact that we had broadened the focus of this strategic area and have received feedback from various groups supporting our focus. The joint committees divided into 3 groups and discussed our draft goals and metrics around the topical areas of critical workforce, research, and community service. On the topic of critical workforce, the discussion was around UNC addressing the future needs of our economy by increasing students with credentials in healthcare, STEM, and K-12 education. The research goal emphasized that over the next 5 years, each UNC institution will strive for continuous improvement in research and scholarship, collaboration with UNC institutions and outside entities, and effective commercialization of technologies. With regard to community service-based goal, discussions centered on UNC students enhancing their leadership and teamwork skills through community service activities that address economic, social, and cultural needs of economically distressed communities and other high-need areas. The debriefing session revealed some areas of general agreement by the committee and other areas where focus should be reevaluated. The overall discussion was very beneficial to the committee, and we made progress towards having goals to recommend to the Strategic Planning Committee. Mr. Chairman, this is our report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davenport. Next, the report of the Committee on Budget and Finance, Mr. Lampe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Bissett and Board of Governors members, during its meeting on Monday, October 10th, the Committee on Budget and Finance considered 8 items which were on your consent agenda today. Also, the committee heard a report on the Connect NC bonds, 2016 bonds. The report provided an update on activities that have taken place at all 17 institutions, including selecting design firms, developing project schedules, and establishing cash flow requirements related to that. I'm also happy to report the state just recently issued the first tranche of that debt, $200 million, at a rate of 2.06, which is fantastic. So we're certainly proud of the work we're doing in that area and look forward to having those facilities on our campuses. The board, as we work through that over the next several years, will receive regular updates, and we'll be providing those to you as buildings start to come out of the ground. Related, yesterday, in yesterday's meeting, we worked on our strategic planning. We have now approved 2 goals. The first goal is around affordability, and that goal is to offer education of equal or higher quality at a cost that is attainable to students and families in North Carolina. This is where we're going to be working around tuition and financial aid and those issues. And goal number 2 is to pursue and utilize increased operational and financial flexibility for the benefit of the educational, research, and public service missions of the university. And this is where we'll be focused on the cost side of the equation, trying to be as efficient as we can and create tool sets for our chancellors, who I think we all believe can run their universities to their best potential if they're given some flexibility and some leeway to make those decisions. And I think what we just approved with the delegation of personnel authority is a good example of being on the right track in that area. So I appreciate that. Finally, the committee approved the 2016 and 17 repair and renovation capital improvement allocation. This was also included in your consent agenda. Last thing I want to mention is Mr. Holmes' birthday yesterday.
26 again.
Which one was that?
Yes, every bit. And also I want to mention Michael Vollmer, who is a big part of Jonathan's team, is moving down the road in Chapel Hill. He's going to work to be the CFO of the School of Government. So we hate to lose him, but certainly it's good to have him here still in the community. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our report.
Thank you, Mr. Lampe. Mrs. Nelson, the report of the Committee on Educational Planning, Policies, and Programs.
During our meeting this week, the Ed Planning Committee considered administrative items, including one new master's degree program, a report on lab schools, waiting for Cambridge courses, one licensure request, and updates to the biennial program productivity report process. These items were on your consent agenda approved earlier. Related to strategic planning, the committee finalized 2 draft goals. While we were sorely tempted to adopt the T-shirt slogan, "Stay calm and graduate," we did propose something more academic. Goal 1, UNC will ensure all undergraduate students receive outstanding academic and experiential learning opportunities to acquire relevant 21st century knowledge and skills needed to be responsible citizens, productive members of the workforce, and lifelong learners in an information and global economy. These opportunities must increase meaningful engagement, a measurable mechanism linked to post-graduation well-being and success. And Goal 2, UNC will improve timely degree completion for all students and be the nation's leader in producing completion equity by targeting factors such as, but not limited to, income, race, ethnicity, gender, and place of residence. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes our remarks.
Thank you, Anna. Next, Mr. Hinton, the report of the Committee on University Governance.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Bissett, Board of Governors, members, the Committee on University Governance has several items for your information and 3 items for a vote this morning. During our meeting yesterday, the committee had a lively discussion on our 2 goals for access, which we have approved. Our first goal will focus on improving access while reducing participation gaps by increasing the enrollment of UNC's undergraduate student body, with a focus on increasing the proportion of low-income undergraduates. Our second goal will focus on increasing the number of high-quality UNC-trained educators, including teachers, school leaders, and principals. The committee received a notice of a vacancy on the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics Board of Trustees for Congressional District 1. Our liaison is Frank Granger. Frank is currently working with Chancellor Roberts and reviewing nominations for this opening. This is something that we're working on right now, and if you have any ideas or nominations for this, please get with Frank or Chancellor Roberts as soon as you can. Committee also received an update on the vacancies on the Western Carolina University Board of Trustees, the State Advisory Council on Indian Education, and the UNC Healthcare Board of Directors. The committee has the following 3 items which will require a vote. Western Carolina has one open position on the Board of Trustees for a term ending June 30th, 2017, due to the resignation of George Little. On behalf of the Governance Committee, Mr. Chairman, I recommend the appointment of Gaither Keener, Jr. His bio is in your folder. You may have to look for it a little bit. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on the back of the first bio. But Rodney Hood and I have met with Mr. Keener. He is the former General Counsel for the Lowe's Corporation. Excellent choice for Western Carolina, very supportive of the university over the years. And so, Mr. Chairman, that is our recommendation, that we appoint Gaither Keener, Jr. to the Western Carolina Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Mr. Hinton. You've heard the recommendation of the committee. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The State Advisory Council on Indian Education has one opening for a council member from the system. On behalf of the Governance Committee, I recommend the appointment of Susan Faircloth. Her bio is also in your folder.
Thank you, Mr. Hinton. You've heard the recommendation of the committee. Any discussion on this recommendation? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, UNC Healthcare has 4 at-large positions on its board of directors for 4-year terms ending October 31st, 2020. According to General Statute 166-37, the members at large shall be appointed by the Board of Governors after consultation with the President of the University of North Carolina. Following the recommendation of UNC Healthcare and in consultation with President Spellings, the committee recommends to the Board of Governors the reappointment of Ann Bernhardt, Susan Culp, Dale Jenkins, and Edward Willingham. All reappointments will be effective November 1st of this year, 2016. Their bios are in your folder. Mr. Chairman, that is the committee's recommendation for the UNC Healthcare Board.
Thank you, Mr. Hinton. You've heard the recommendation of the committee. Any discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our remarks.
Thank you very much. Finally, we would like to hear the report of the Strategic Planning Committee. Mr. Sousa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Spent the last couple of weeks getting my arms around Champ. Mr. Chairman, probably will be for him. So very pleased about the process that has been made. Our next steps are between now and December, we will take forums on all the campuses. You have a draft schedule in front of you. If it's yesterday, and so if I missed somebody or got you signed to the wrong campus, let us know and we'll change it. And there have been some additions since that we did this morning. Each person, Andrew Kelly was going to send everybody the event schedule, a one-page remarks that we would suggest that you give at the forum, and also a location and contact person on the campus. And so you'll receive those by campus. And so everybody's invited to go to these. We're just trying to get people signed that we know that will be there and listen. There's also another component. Each campus was given a survey to send to their faculty, their staff, students, alumni, their boards of trustees, and we so far it must be working because at the last count I think 2,500 responses. Andrew, is that right? And so we're going to take the survey information and the information we get from the forums to help us develop this report, which we plan to give to you in December in draft form for discussion, and we. Hopefully, we'll be able to schedule the first part of Thursday's session at the December meeting to be a thorough review and discussion of the draft plan. After that, hopefully we'll be able to go through the holidays and bring you a final draft for your consideration and adoption. And that's the plan, and I will answer any questions if you have any. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Sousa. I think it's time for a brief chairman's report. I emphasize brief. Before I begin my report, I want to again congratulate Margaret on her formal inauguration as president of the university. As we all know, since March 1st, Margaret has demonstrated her tireless commitment to access and student success and to making our university even greater than she found it. It's a privilege and a pleasure to work with her. As some of her sisters said last night, work for her may be a better term, but she's, as we all know in this room, she's a great leader and a fun person to be around, and it's a pleasure to be associated with you, and an honor, really. Next, I want to thank Champ Mitchell, who could not be with us today. He was here yesterday for the inauguration. As you know, he's worked diligently with each committee to ensure that the goals we establish for the university are rigorous, measurable, and focused on the state's most important priorities. Champ has kept us focused on the bigger picture and a university system that improves the quality of life for everyone in North Carolina. Champ's leadership has set us up for success, but now it's time for him to focus on his health. Craig and Roger have agreed to pick up the torch and help shepherd this effort to the finish line. So I want to thank both Craig and Roger for agreeing to fill those big shoes. And Champ will be in all of our thoughts and prayers for a speedy recovery as he begins this process. As you know, this week each committee continued its focus on their strategic planning themes of access, affordability, efficiency, student success, economic impact, and excellent and diverse institutions. I know that each of you have spent a lot of time and energy working with your committee on these draft goals. This work will continue, as Craig indicated, in the coming months as we look to have a slate of goals to consider in December and probably for final enactment at our January meeting. Now, I know I know you're having to put in a lot more hours than you have, and I really appreciate it, and I think everyone connected with the university appreciates it, because we have to continue to do our regular business, and at the same time while working on these strategic goals. So I want to thank all of our board members. I know it's, you know, I had one board member call me and said, "What are these meetings on Wednesday? Are we going to start coming for the whole week?" You know, and no, we hopefully will not have to continue that. But I know it's a sacrifice, and I do appreciate it. We are also asking for feedback from faculty, staff, and students across the university. In recent weeks, an online survey was distributed by General Administration in collaboration with the Faculty Assembly, and on-campus public forums have actually started. And as Craig indicated, I attended one at Western Carolina. It was I wasn't sure when I went out there how this was going to work out, but it was incredible. The students, the faculty, and the staff were supportive, optimistic, and really working hard on this strategic plan. So that's what we need, because we've got to have everybody in the university behind this plan. They have to own part of this plan if it's going to succeed. And I thought that was a very important step. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Purnell Bartlett to join me at the podium. Purnell. As you know, Purnell is the chair of the UNC Staff Assembly, and I've gotten to know Purnell pretty well over the years because he chairs the Staff Assembly golf tournament that he allows Winston-Salem State to win every year. And so I'm a little bit concerned about that. What you may not know is that this weekend is the 10th anniversary of the first meeting of the Staff Assembly. So I would like to have a motion that the board adopt this resolution, which you have in your folders this morning. Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Sounds like it, even though you are a little biased towards Winston-Salem State, it sounds like the board approved this unanimously. Thank you. And we appreciate everything you're doing and the staff assembly does for the good of the university. And I better read this very last part of it to you. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Governors supports the mission of the UNC Staff Assembly to improve communications, understanding, and morale throughout the whole of our respective communities, and to increase efficiency and productivity in campus operations, and extends its deep appreciation for the meritorious service that the UNC Staff Assembly has and will continue to provide to the university community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just one other announcement. I would like to announce the appointment of the Governor Omax Gardner Award Committee. Governor Pearl Burris Floyd will chair the committee this year, and on that committee will be Alex Mitchell, Terrence Pickett, Marty Cotis, and Tom Gouldsby, and I appreciate all of you for serving. I served on it one time before, and it's really a great experience just to be able to see the incredible people that we have working in our system. I have two additional announcements. We're going to have our public comment session immediate 15 minutes following the end of our meeting, and Laura has that set up to go. That's been working very well, I think. I've been to most of them. And secondly, let me remind you that the next meeting of the Board of Governors is scheduled for December 1st and 2nd here in Chapel Hill. So that concludes my report, unless there are any questions. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. We're going to watch a movie.
Short.
We thought we would have we're not going to ask Margaret to give her full TED talk today, but we are going to have a short replay of the movie, which I think I've seen once. I really enjoyed it, and we thought that everybody might like to see a little bit of that again. So, are we ready? Okay.
Sorry, somebody touched the desktop here.
No, it was not me. It must have been Craig.
It will come back quick. It will come back quickly.
My name is Christina Hammock Cook, and I went to North Carolina State University, and I'm currently an astronaut with NASA.
I think for our university to be the best it can be, we need to, first of all, recognize what the University of North Carolina and all of the campuses are. They're really the heart of our state and our economy. It's the University of North Carolina, the most precious thing in our state.
Education in America has a long, complex history. Too often we hear vague support for education. Policymakers can think of a great way to approach a problem, but without capable leaders on the ground to carry out that vision, these are just theories that fall in the waste bin.
General William Davie is considered the founder of UNC Chapel Hill, and UNC Chapel Hill was the first public university. Up until that point, you had to have some wealth in order to get a college education. But his motivation was preparing the common man for service. And when I read that, I thought, oh my goodness, that's me.
The biggest challenge I see is affordability. As we know, tuition keeps going up, and families are really struggling to afford their children's education. And we need to educate more than we're doing. We need to educate first generation. We need to educate minorities that are underrepresented and people that are experiencing economic difficulties.
It's not as easy for students, especially if you're coming in with non-scholarship, to being able to afford a college education. In today's society, getting a college education means getting a job. Being able to get a degree and make it affordable for students is something that's really, it's a major key for student success and for everyone's success pretty much, because you're not always going to be a student.
I believe that everyone should have a chance at education. I am a part of a program called the Covenant Scholar, and it is for low-income family. So I was able to take the opportunity and attend UNC.
I think, when we are able to make education affordable, it allows opportunity for a lot of people to follow their dreams or to reach their full potential.
It's amazing that a family from a small town in eastern North Carolina can send 4 kids to a great technical college, and we all have exciting careers, and half of us are still in the state kind of giving back and supporting that economy. It's exciting.
My growing up in federal public housing and going to all black schools through high school, and then all of a sudden to be on that education there and an affordable education there, it just changed everything.
I spent 11 years in the military building up my resume and building up those skills that I needed to flourish in that environment. But it was specialized to the military. So coming into civilian life, I think I needed to really prepare myself for coming into a workforce that I wasn't accustomed to working in. UNC gives me the opportunity to build up a skill set, to give me the know-how to proceed forward in the next career choice that I made.
To further any part of our society, whether it be medicine, whether it be business, our young people have to be able to afford to go to college.
Universities play a special role in creating knowledge and being a place where students can work with the people who are creating that knowledge, but also in driving the economic development of the country, driving the economic development of our states.
If you want to be a growing, vital, vibrant, great place to live, you invest in higher education. You invest in teachers and faculty. You develop innovation that comes from those universities. We are in a global knowledge economy, and we need to go far beyond what we've always done and make sure that higher education is available and affordable and accessible to every person in our state and country.
I like that.
So we should take.
That concludes my report. Remember that the UNC School of the Arts produced that, and it was a magnificent job. And Mr. Powers.
Mr. Chairman, question and comment. Question, could we get a copy of that? The film?
Certainly.
And comment, I had lived in Winston for 20 years, and my first 4 years on the board, and had a great privilege of spending a lot of time at the School of the Arts. And I think we all just saw what they're capable of doing. And one thing we talked about, and we talked about a lot around the $500 tuition proposal, is marketing for our universities. I think we, Public Affairs Committee, would like to spearhead this, would like to go see if there might be some money available from the legislature to allow the School of the Arts, if they'll do it, to work with our campuses and develop marketing films like that. That is fantastic. And particularly as we talked about marketing on the $500 tuition plan schools, if Lindsay's up to the challenge, and I think he is, I think we should try to work with them and try to develop some better brand marketing for the schools. It'd be good for the School of the Arts and be good for all those schools in the system. So I'd love to sit down and try to find a way. Maybe we could go to the legislature and ask for some funds to do that. It's not that expensive a task in the overall scheme of things, and I think it'd be a big step forward for all of us.
Thank you, David. I think that's a great suggestion. At this point, I'm going to ask Secretary Perry for a motion to go into closed session. We anticipate that this will be a rather short closed session, so I would ask everybody to stick around because hopefully we'll be going back into open session very quickly. Thank you.
Members of the board, the printed motion to go into closed session is in your materials. I move that we go into closed session as described in the written motion pursuant to sections 143 through 318.11, A1, 3, 5, and 6 of the North Carolina General Statutes.
Thank you, Secretary Perry. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I hope so. I mean,
They didn't use
this
that's relative.
Okay, we're back into open session. I'd like to call on Mr. Parrish for the report of the Committee on Personnel and Tenure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is the mic on now? Yes. It is? Okay. Chairman Bissett and Board of Governors members, this report covers open session items discussed during the Committee on Personnel and Tenure's meetings Wednesday, October 12 and Thursday, October 13. On October 12, the committee continued its discussions on the topic of potential employment contracts and incentive pay plans for the chancellors. This discussion began with the board in 2014 when the board contracted with the Buck Consultants for an executive compensation study. That study was addressed compensation and employment conditions for the president, the chancellors, and the president's direct reports. Buck Consultants presented to the committee on Wednesday to remind us of the key findings of their original work, especially in the areas of employment contracts. Additionally, Mr. Tom Shanahan provided some historical context on this topic, described the various elements of the employment contracts and compensation, and provided an example of policy framework for the committee to consider if the board wishes to move forward in this. Any incentive pay, especially from the perspective of the minority-serving institutions, whether employment contracts actually benefit the university, and more information on the practices of other public sector higher education institutions in this area and possible options for proceeding with incentive pay apart from employment contracts. Mr. Brody and Mr. Shanahan will return to the committee in December with more concrete information on policy options and answers to the questions raised during this meeting. I believe the PowerPoint panel is included in our board materials. And as we invited everyone to attend the meeting, I know that we had a lot of conflicts, but we would and value your input on this topic. On October 13, the committee reviewed its process for creating a definition of and goals for its strategic priority, excellent and diverse institutions. By the close of our meeting, we agreed on 3 concrete goals and the tangible metrics to measure them. First area, areas of distinction. The university's constituent institutions will collectively strengthen the reputation and accomplishments of the UNC system by each identifying a mission-focused area of distinction and pursue the academic endeavors needed to position them for significant recognition in that area within the next 5 years. Human capital. The university will systematically measure the engagement and retention of faculty and staff working over the next 5 years to achieve continuous improvements at all institutions and, where needed, to increase those measures to any relevant external benchmarks. Historically black colleges and universities and minority-serving institutions. The University of North Carolina will support its HBCUs and MSIs in their evidence-based efforts to develop, expand, and market high-quality, high-demand programs that increase student success and completion over the next 5 years. Our committee looks forward to seeing our work represented in the larger strategic planning presentations. Additionally, Mr. Souza rallied volunteers to speak on behalf of our strategic priority at upcoming public forums, and community stakeholders' feedback will significantly inform our next steps. Mr. Brody provided an update on both academic affairs and human resource matters. Academic affairs has launched a successful faculty fellowship program that brings faculty from various institutions to general administration to work on various PAL 17. Mr. Brody also presentation used for the faculty salary delegated to the president. Thank you, Mr. Bissett.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. One final item in my agenda. When I asked for a motion on the minutes of the open meeting of July 29th, the minutes that you received were actually September 9th, and those were the ones we approved. But I did want to note that because I think in my comment I did say July 29th. The public comment session will begin in approximately 15 minutes. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Now entertain a second. All in favor? Aye. Amen. Look at that. 11:15. That's 11:15.
That is a beautiful day.
Good job. Oh, thank you for helping. All right.